Hi, everyone. Welcome to an extra special episode of Carson's Take 5. Ryan and Sonu. Sonu, we'll talk about you in a second. I'm in New York City.
Wow.
I was
nice.
just on right there, and there is Times Square right behind me. So I did take off my makeup, Sonu. I was tempted to leave it on, but I did take off my makeup for this. Where are you right now?
I'm on vacation mode. I'm visiting my parents in South India, the southwest coast of India. So I'm in the tropics. It's warm. It's 6 o'clock in the evening. What's the time there?
It's like 7:30 in the morning in New York.
So we're about 10 and a half hours apart.
Okay. Well, that's are you having jet lag? How you doing? You hanging in there?
Well, I'm hanging in there. I just woke up from a nap. So yes, I'm sort of hanging in there.
We're good. Well, let's just dive right in. We're going to talk about the economy, and this week in the Take 5, we're calling it How's the Economy? So I'll start, Sonu, and then send it to you. Lots of questions about the economy. The labor market is weakening. Consumer confidence isn't great, but earnings were solid. Manufacturing's been weak. Services has been strong. You can almost tell any story you want, in my opinion, Sonu. You can take this a lot of ways. We just had a lot of data because the government was shut down for a while. How is the U.S. economy right now?
In a nutshell, I would say it's probably growing along trend. And what does that mean? Okay. Trend growth means, let's say around 2% GDP growth, 2 to 2.5% GDP growth. So not as great shakes as 2023, 2024, when we were growing at 3%, but it's not like 1% growth or less than that, or something recessionary, right? So we're not in a recession, that's clear. I mean, look at company earnings, as you mentioned. But we can talk about the labor market, right? The labor market is in, I don't want to say a fragile place, but the risks are high.
So, Sonu, there's some great points. You know, there's a lot of ways to look at this. I do want to talk about earnings one more time because we didn't have a lot of government data there for about a month and a half. And we really had to listen to what was up with corporate earnings. And corporate America said things are pretty good. Earnings were stronger than expected. Earnings next year are stronger than expected. There's so many ways to slice and dice the economy. I'm in New York City at 7:30 in the morning. I don't see a recession here. All right. I was walking around the theater district last night. Yes, it's holiday season, shopping, all that stuff, but it sure doesn't feel like a recession. So where are parts that actually feel like there might be a recession right now in our economy?
I think where the risks are is in the labor market. And we see that, in the most simplest of indicators, which is the unemployment rate. At the start of the year, the unemployment rate was just under 4.1%. Right now, it's crept up to 4.6%. Anytime the unemployment rate is going up, that's not a great sign. Over the last 3 months, job growth per month has averaged about 22,000. Now, part of that is because the federal government, because of the deferred resignation program, in October, the federal government lost like over 100,000 jobs. But still, over the last 3, 4, 5 months, we've seen a few months with negative job growth. That's never great. And that's a situation when, all of us should be a little worried, and most of all the Federal Reserve. But that sort of solidifies the reason why they've cut interest rates by 0.75 percentage points over the last 3 months. And maybe, we get another cut sooner rather than later, maybe in January too. Depends on what the December payroll report says, right? So the good news is, yes, there's not a lot of hiring, but there's not a lot of firing either. The layoff rate remains low, right? The prime age employment population ratio is at 80.6%. It measures how many prime age workers are employed rather than, how many people are unemployed. So it's a reverse metric, if you may. And that's close to the highest levels we saw, over the last 20 years, right? Outside of, a year ago when it was 80.9%. So there's some positive signs, but generally it's a mixed picture. The risks are high. And I think that, as I said, is why the Fed is cutting.
You think about it, this economy, U.S. economy, had a real jolt back in April when all the tariff stuff started and Liberation Day. Companies have been a little cautious because of that. Everybody and their mother, like people on the TV station right behind me, were saying there's a recession coming. There's a recession coming. So I think it makes sense that companies were a little cautious in terms of hiring over the last several months. That November number we got, it did come in a little bit better than expected. I mean, Sonu, with some rate cuts coming, do you think we're going to more normalize and, let's say, create 100,000 jobs on average going forward? Are we in this world of less than 50,000 jobs? What do you see happening?
I think if because of the big drop in immigration, maybe the economy needs to create, let's say, about 50,000 jobs a month to keep up with population growth. That's a break even. Now, there's a lot of uncertainty around that number. So anything above that is not bad. If you create 60 or 70,000 jobs, last month, the private sector created, over 100,000 jobs. That's not bad. And, if you continue gaining jobs at that rate, yes, it's not what we saw last year. But remember, last year we saw a big revision downward in jobs too, right? So as long as they're creating over 50, 60,000 jobs a month, I think we are okay. We are going to grow along trend. But remember, trend growth is not a bad thing, right? Even in the 2010s, we were growing around 2.5%. The market did really well.
Well said there. So we're probably going to wrap up this week's Carson's Take 5. How's the economy? There are some cracks. There are some issues. But overall, we do not see a recession right now. And as we head out into 2026, our base case for now is we still don't have a recession. And to give a little spoiler alert, the stock market usually does pretty well when you can avoid a recession. Everyone enjoy the holiday season. Sonu, enjoy being home with your family over in India. I might eat some steak for lunch today. I'm in New York, why
nice.
not?
Enjoy.
But everybody, we'll be back next week with the latest Carson's Take 5. See everybody then. Thank you.